What is science? Is science the study of everything such as politics, history, and so on? Is it the study of atoms, physics, biology? Or is it about debunking the supernatural or the paranormal? Technically, science is nothing but an inquiry tool to explain the world around us based on empirical evidence. It is a tool that enables us to solve questions in the universe such as why is the sky blue, does water make plants grow, or does aspirin really prevent heart attacks? A scientific question doesn't necessarily need to be related to physics, biology, and any other field of study. As long as the question is testable and falsifiable, it's a scientific question. Now, questions like, does God exist? Is Yeti real? And so on cannot be considered scientific because they're not falsifiable nor testable at any level. The idea on how science answers scientific questions is strictly based on a scientific method. Under the scientific method, you observe something, ask yourself a question, a hypothesis related to that observation, test the hypothesis, and see whether or not the empirical data supports your hypothesis. If the data, whether replicated or not, supports your hypothesis, then it is a scientific theory. If not, then you start all over and create another hypothesis. In order to understand this concept, you must understand the difference between a hypothesis and a theory. A hypothesis is simply a proposed explanation for a scientific question of an observed phenomenon. The hypothesis assumes the explanation to be true. It follows a conditional statement of if X happened, then it is because of Y. It simply assumes the Y to be true. Now, a scientific theory is a hypothesis for a scientific question that is widely supported by data and has yet to be disproved. In other words, it is an explanation that is backed up with empirical evidence. Einstein's general theory of relativity, for example, is widely supported by many scientists. It is the only theory that is greatly backed up with evidence on how gravity works. Other theories such as the theory of evolution are also widely supported as well. Another important thing to consider is that there is no such thing as proof in science. Every scientific theory has the possibility to be either modified or disproved by one opposing experiment. Even Einstein himself mentioned that he cannot prove himself, but disproved by one opposed experiment. If there is no such thing as proof in science, then why are subatomic particles, gravity, the moon, and so on considered to be real? What about the mathematics involved? Doesn't that prove anything? Not necessarily. Things that seem self-evident, such as the moon, meteors, atoms, and so on, aren't really scientific because, as I mentioned before, science is only an inquiry tool to explain the world around us. Gravity, moon, meteors, atoms, and so on don't require any investigation simply because they're self-evident. The math is basically based on a scientific law or theory. Mathematics simply assume the law theory to be true and therefore give it a measurement with mathematical proofs. However, mathematics simply don't prove it to be true. Newton's theory, for example, was modified by Einstein's general theory of relativity, even though Newton used mathematics for his theory. Does this mean science is useless? Not really. It only leads us closer to the truth and helps us stay away from beliefs and superstitions. Pseudoscience. Pseudoscience relies on a doctrinal method for studying a given phenomenon. The methodology of pseudoscience lacks objectiveness, testability, and falsifiability. These include ufology, numerology, astrology, and cryptology. Parapsychology, on the other hand, is actually science, despite its current controversy from scientists. The only difference between parapsychology and conventional science is that parapsychology is more controversial and unconventional to a scientific community. However, parapsychology is actually one of the fields of studies that strongly support psychic phenomena such as ESP and telekinesis under double-blind controlled studies published in peer-reviewed journals such as the Psychological Bulletin, even though it is, reviewed under the eyes of the skeptics such as Professor Ray Hyman. It is the only study that probably tests a hypothesis under the scientific method. Well, that's about it, folks. We learned that science is a great tool for understanding and solving the world around us. The beauty of science is that there is no limit to what exactly can we study, as long as what you're studying is falsifiable and testable. Of course, there are no such thing as proofs in science, but it is the only best method, unlike beliefs such as pseudoscience, to get us closer to the truth. From the microscopic world to astronomy, science is a virtue without a doubt. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you like my lecture, please leave a like. Thanks for watching.